Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing a game called Aphelion by Don't Not, and this game released April 28th, and I just want to go ahead and give my humble little take on it. Now, I saw this game before it actually released, maybe a few months prior, and it caught my eye. Though I didn't have high expectations for it, I still did want to try it. Now, this game takes place in the 2060s, where your character, Ariane, and her colleague are on a spaceship heading towards a planet called Persephone, where you believe you'll be the first scientist there to pave the way for humanity to leave their way from a broken Earth to find a new planet that is inhabitable. Fortunately, you make it to Persephone, but not after falling out of the sky and crashing your ship on this unknown and uncharted planet. After waking up from the impact, you look over to see that Thomas is nowhere to be seen, setting you off on a journey looking for your colleague and scouring Persephone for any inhabitable environment. And that's where our story begins. You fall out of the broken cockpit, down the crashed ship, as the game starts introducing various gameplay mechanics to you. So let's go ahead and talk about that, shall we? The gameplay mechanics, that is. And I don't normally like to start anything off negative, but I will say the movement in this felt a little clunky, almost a little robotic in some ways. Like, it was fast and responsive to an extent, but the actual animation and movement itself felt a bit more, just as I said, robotic. Now, normally this is not a deal breaker in a game for me, but the problem I did have with it was that the FOV and the camera speed did not complement it whatsoever. There were multiple times where I'd move my character and they'd move faster than the camera, even though I had my camera sensitivity on max the entire playthrough. I was also playing on console, and arguably I think you could deal with low sensitivity better on keyboard and mouse than you could on console, so that may be a bit of a biased opinion. One thing I will complain about though is the lack of FOV slider. I genuinely felt like I was playing through a telescope the entire game. The climbing mechanics are fairly simple. It's just press A to the next ledge, and when you jump further distances, you have to press X to confirm, and if you don't, you'll have a little quick time event. Nothing too crazy, but oh my gosh, do they love to spam this through the entire game. They also have momentum and grappling mechanics, and I really can't say anything bad about these. They worked as intended. They were just a little finicky sometimes, but definitely not a game changer. There was this little balancing mechanic which reminded me of the games that you used to play on the Wii. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but if anybody knows what those are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There were also stealth mechanics where you could use distractions to distract your enemies and sneak past them. Nothing revolutionary, it just was really basic. And there really was no way to fight back against your enemies. It was all basically about stealth, even though I think one of the journal logs in the game did say something about a weapon or some way to fight back. You just never really get to see it. There's also small puzzles in the game where you're supposed to tether broken frequency lines back together in order to progress through certain areas, and I didn't like this or dislike it. It was just kind of part of the game, and in all honesty, it was used so scarcely throughout the game that half the time I forgot it was even there. Luckily though, not all these mechanics are spammed throughout the entire game, as you do get to play as your injured colleague Thomas. His gameplay loop is a little bit different though, as you take a more survivalistic approach, having to look for air tanks and codes to unlock doors. They do pull back and make the gameplay a little bit slower, but it does give you time to admire the beauty of Persephone. And speaking of the beauty of Persephone, let's go ahead and talk about the environment of this game. Now, as with most games, the environment is what really piqued my interest in this game and what kind of got me into playing it. And I will say, everywhere you look in this game, you're going to get a bit of beautiful scenery. The game does not disappoint in that aspect. But there are parts throughout the game where the environmental storytelling does feel a bit dull or even anticlimactic in some cases. It's like the atmosphere in cutscenes is trying to convey something grandiose and larger than life, but once you actually get to the gameplay atmosphere, it just doesn't complement it well enough. Like during this scene where you're running through a lightning storm, like there's maybe one lightning strike during the actual gameplay, and then during the cutscenes, you know, they make it much more dramatic and intense. Overall, the environment isn't bad, it's just definitely lacking in some areas. I feel like the game's cutscenes work it up to be something that it's not. One thing that I really enjoyed about this game, and I think kept me going all the way to the very end, was its soundtrack. I feel like a lot of good games can be defined by their soundtrack. Unfortunately for this game, its music is really the only great thing about it. I've seen a lot of people compare this game to a walking simulator or such, and in all honesty, I don't think it's to that extreme, but I definitely think that if the music was not accompanying me throughout the entire gameplay, I probably wouldn't have finished it. Now lastly, without any spoilers, I want to quickly touch upon the story and dialogue. I personally think this is where the game lacked the most. There was really no defining features of the story, it was just you knew where you were supposed to go from the beginning, and the entire gameplay is getting to that point. There was maybe one twist more towards the end of the game, but even then, earlier on, the gameplay kind of just exposes it. The only thing this story really conveys is perseverance, and outside of that, there's really no defining traits of the story. It's kind of just dull, hollow, almost not even thought through. It's definitely not bad, it's just not striving to be good, and that's where it falls short. I think the exact same claim could be made for the dialogue as well. They don't seem to be putting too much effort into the dialogue, they just want to have the dialogue there to get the story moving. Most of the time, your character is legitimately just talking to themselves throughout the entire game, just to talk. No real necessary reason. It's hardly even to convey lore or to convey story, it's just to talk. And it's not bad, it's just annoying hearing the character muttering to themselves things that you can obviously already tell in the game. Overall, the entire game is not bad, it's just mid. I feel like it teeters on the edge of being somewhat bad and mildly decent. But if this doesn't pique your interest already, then you're probably not going to enjoy this game. I really have nothing else to say. I got away with playing this game on Game Pass, but I don't think I'd ever spend the $30 price tag for this game. It just isn't up to that standard. Overall, this game took me a little under 8 hours to complete, and if I had to rank it, I'd probably put it around 6.5 out of 10. But besides that, I don't regret playing it. I just probably would never play it again. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider leaving a like, consider subscribing, it helps a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a blessed day. Peace out.